Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Anessa and I am an indie author from Toronto, Canada. I write in YA fantasy and sci-fi, and I write under the pen name of A.N. Sage. So today I am back with another video and I'm going to be talking to you about my writing process and what that looks like for me from start to finish. And hopefully this will help you out if you're starting your own book or if you're looking for a new process to implement into your writing. So let's get right to it. Hey guys, thank you for joining me again. I'm really excited for this video. I said last week I'm going to be talking about what my writing process looks like because I know it's different for every author and everybody has their own little quirks and little things that they do. And it's taking me a while to get to this point, but now I am in a place where I feel like I have exactly the steps that I need to take to get a novel out, to get it out fast, to get it out polished, and to get it out with as little edits as possible. With that said, I am going to preface this video to say that I am definitely not a pantser. It's very important to me to actually plot everything out. I have all the details situated. I still change things out as I write scene by scene, but for the most part, I know where every book is going from beginning to end. And I also know where my entire series will be going. Now, I don't plot out the entire series from the beginning, of course, because that would take forever and be a huge pain in the ass, but I do have little points for each one so that I can tell what those main beats are and how the arc for the series will work. I will at some point do a video of how I plan my series out because I'm in the middle of a very long-standing one. I think if you are getting into writing a series, it might be interesting to see how other people do it to get you an idea of where to start. So we will do that in the future, but for today, we're just going to talk about my general writing process, what it looks like for every book, and how I get through it. Yeah, if you like more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up button so I know that this is what you're into and I know I'm on the right track to move this channel forward and get you guys as much content as I can that is relevant and what it is you actually want to see. So just a little preface, we are still heavily into NaNoWriMo. As I'm recording this, we're in week 2 now. We're finishing up week 2 almost. And I'm doing pretty good. I always write more than the 50,000 only because I don't think I've had a book that was 50,000 words long since the first book, since Etherborn. So that was my shortest book. Usually they're around between 65 and 80,000. And then you have something like Cartega, which is more like epic and 120K. But that's more of like a sci-fi fantasy mashup. So it is quite longer, that one. But in my urban fantasy series and in my like Winchy mystery work, it's usually around 65 to 85 to 90,000. So that's where the books stand. So my goal, as always, as it has been this entire year since I started writing full-time, is to push out a book every month and a half in the Shadowhurst series. So I can get it out and start working on the next thing, which I won't say what it is because I'm still figuring it out, but I have an idea where it's going. So yeah, that was the plan. So my plan for the month was actually more than 50K. It was around the 65, 70 mark. I've just hit 37,000 words. Yesterday, last night, I sat down and I wrote quite a bit. It was actually a launch day for one of the books for Town of Illusions. It went so well. I couldn't even believe the amount of support and how many people just downloaded the series and bought the books. And it was fantastic. Thank you guys for anybody who was a part of making this like one of the best launches I've ever had. So thank you so much. To celebrate, I am wearing my Shadowhurst shirt. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll get up a little bit. But it's the Shadowhurst gates, and they're like really bloody because Shadowhurst is a hot mess and really scary to live in, apparently. I mean, I would survive for like a day if I lived there, but my characters are pretty tough, or they have to be because I put them through hell. Yeah, so anyway, so enough of the chit chat. Let's get through my writing process and I'll take you through like a short step by step of what it looks like for me. So the first thing before I start any book is I have to do my research and my background work. And that's for every book, even if it's part of a series, because for me right now, as the books read, like every book, yes, there is an overarching theme and there's an overarching villain or villains, but every single one still has its own mystery, its own standalone kind of adventure, if you will. And so I have to do the research for that. I have to get the background of the book figured out and know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, in the series that, in the book that just came out, Town of Illusion, there's a lot of memory research that I had to do on how people's memory works, what it would look like if you were to wipe someone's memory, because people are disappearing and only the main character can remember who they were. So there's a lot of research that went into that. So that's my first step. After I do the research, I move into a rough plot of the book. So I kind of sit down and I brainstorm of what it's going to look like, how it's like the finishing point, what the resolution is, the midpoint, what the main mystery is, why it's important, how some of the action is going to unfold. And I just do like a brain dump of all of that and then I put it all together in order, more or less. So when I have that done, that's when I sit down and I narrow it down beat by beat or scene by scene or chapter by chapter, really. And that's what you saw me kind of work on in the plotting video, which I'll try to somewhere up here. It's going to pop up if you haven't seen it. So that's where I sit down and I figure out all my character arcs, every single scene with them in it, if I'm color coding, if I have multiple POVs, so things like that. So that's going to be my beat breakdown that's coming after the rough plot. Then it's time to write. So when this is all done, I do try to write about 2 to 3 chapters a day, every single day, which takes me to anywhere between like 3,000 to 5,000 to 6,000 words. It's important that I do this. I don't write in the morning. I don't know why. I can't write if I'm distracted. And usually when I wake up, I have to do a lot of like admin stuff. I have to work on like advertising and checking emails and just figuring out like spreadsheets and all that stuff. Marketing, images, book cover designs. So that's my main, like right now we have a audiobook coming out for Witch of Shadows. So a lot of my mornings are going through the final audio, making sure it's fine. I just finished it. I'm going through it again just in case, because I'm a perfectionist to a T. So that happens in the morning, and then I'll sit down around like 1 o'clock, and that's when I start writing. And I usually write until about 5 or 6, and then I'll do some reading that works with the craft. So I'll read books like on writing. I'll watch like master classes or any other courses that I might be taking until about like 7 or 8, and that's the end of my day as far as writing goes. So when my rough draft is done, that first draft. Oh, actually, I should mention. So when I write those chapters, so let's say I wrote 2 chapters, the next morning, part of that morning work that I just talked about is editing, roughly editing those chapters. So I read through them again. I go through like some spelling and changes of some of the sentences, and that gets me back in the mood of the story after like a full night of sleep. But also what that gets me is a much cleaner first draft when I'm done, because there's some people who love editing. I'm not those people. Like, I hate editing, especially when you're trying to kind of like pump books out fast and you want them to be good. Like editing can really like screw you over at the end. So I try to have as clean a draft as I can by the end of draft 1, so that when I'm editing, it's slightly less pressure and there's not as many major changes. So I really try to nail down those plot holes as I'm writing draft 1 and just make sure that the characters are all where they should be, so that when I'm editing for the next few rounds, it's smaller changes, which makes it a lot easier for me. So when all of that's done, when we do our first draft or when I finish writing that, I go through my first round of edits. And this usually involves, again, plot holes, like the big kind of edits. So any chapters that need to move around, if there's like some scenes I don't like, cutting scenes, adding scenes, if there's not enough like action or there's too much action, kind of figuring out the pace and all of that. So that's the first round of edits after the first round. Then when I'm done with that, I do a read through of the whole book. So I'll like structure it, format it, throw it onto my Kindle, and I'll read it like I would read anybody else's book. But as I'm reading, I'll be highlighting changes. during this part, because that first draft was already fairly clean, most of these changes are spelling mistakes, like structure and things like that. So I'd highlight those. And then when I'm done with that read through, I'll go back and I'll edit those out. And after this, I am good to send it to my beta readers. So I have a few beta readers. They read through it. They kind of tell me their thoughts, how they feel about the characters, if there's certain things that stood out, if they liked something, if they didn't like something. And then when I get their advice back, I go through it and I do another round of edits. There's a lot of edits. And I hate edits, but you got to do it because every book has to be as perfect as you can get it. That's the most important part, is having that reader experience be absolutely perfect. So after the beta edits, it's time for proofreading, which is the final walkthrough, getting through all the spelling, grammar, like just the nitty gritty stuff. And I kind of go in between, depending on the size of the book. A lot of times I do have a background in technical writing, so a lot of times I will do these edits myself. But when I don't have time, or if it's like a bigger project that I just can't, I know I can't tackle, then I do have an editor that will go through it and work with me. More often than not, I do use an editor for my books just because time-wise. But if you are starting out, if you're working on a budget, it really might be like when I first started out, I didn't have money to put into an editor. So luckily I had a background in editing, so I could do most of it myself. But things still get through, and then there's a different, like I did technical writing and fiction writing is very different. So things still don't line up. So, but if you are working on a budget, maybe invest in teaching yourself how to edit, take some courses, figure it out, and do that at first until you're ready for a professional proofreader, which is how I did it. And now I do have a professional proofreader to go through my books, unless it's like teeny tiny, like freebie novella type things, or just like a small like freebie I'm offering to people. So yeah, anyway, so after the proofreading round, I get the book back, and now I do either a final read through again or a final listen through. So I'll load it through like a program that like animates voices, like an AI. They're really creepy to listen to. I did end up purchasing one because I just liked the voices better. They were like a little bit more human sounding. But if you don't want to spend money, I believe Word has possibly something or there's something online. There's like a few things online where you can load a manuscript in, and there's like a fake person, like a little robot that will read it back to you. So I highly recommend this. I'll usually like put it on my phone, the voice book, and I'll listen to it when I'm driving, or if I'm just like cleaning or walking around the house or doing other things. And it's kind of in the back of my mind, but you'd be surprised how much more you catch when you're listening to it. I catch a lot of grammar mistakes, weird dialect, and small things like that when I do like a final listen through. So I definitely recommend doing that. If you don't have time to listen, or you're not into like an audio kind of experience, then just do an extra read through afterwards, just to make sure everything's perfect. That's where you want it to be. And then when that's done, I format the books. I do all the formatting myself. And I should mention that while my book is with beta edits, I usually work on covers, marketing, things like that. So I do design all my own covers. I have my one, I did a lot of things in life. If I keep saying my background, but like I did a ton of stuff. I'm quite old. So I've had like enough life experience to kind of take me through like quite a bit of careers. So one of the things and what I went to school for is design and photography. So I do design all of my own covers. I'm actually considering possibly starting a cover design business next year, but we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how much time I have, because the books take up a lot of time, and writing is very time consuming. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so while that's with beta edits, before I do all the final read through, listen through, beta edits, proofreading, etc., I work on cover design and figuring out the blurb and things like that. And then when that's all done, the book's ready to go. I formatted it, pre-orders are up. That's when I sit down and I work on my story Bible updates. So I do that after every single book is out and published, so that I can start the next one. And if there's anything that I have questions about or I need to reference something, the story Bible is updated. So I don't need to dig through all the books and try to figure out like from the manuscript or something else. So that's a really important part. I should probably do a video. Maybe let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do a story Bible video to kind of show you what mine looks like. I work on it in Scrivener. If we do that, I could even probably put together a little template for you guys if you're a Scrivener user. So yeah, that is my process from start to finish. This usually lasts about, like I said, a month and a half. And then it starts right over, and it's just like this never-ending loop of the same process back and forth. But it works for me. It works for the way my brain functions. Hopefully there's some things in there that could work for you too, or some things maybe you haven't thought of doing and might want to implement. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to me talk about my process. I hope it's been helpful to you in one way or another. And if not, I hope that you enjoyed my babbling for this time. So yeah, thank you for joining me. And yeah, check me out for the next video. I'm gonna be posting videos every single Thursday at 9 a.m. So that's the plan for now, once a week. So yeah, come join me next week. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. If you're in Nano, good luck. Don't despair, keep it going. If you don't write for a day, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Things will come together. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and stay magical, everyone. Bye.